Daniel Logan would be a great return as Boba Fett, as a young Boba Fett in the Empire times, during the Dark Times, when Darth Vader, Obi-Wan was hiding, all of that.
This is where the fun begins.
Because Ewan McGregor just talked about it in a fan expo in Toronto. He talked about Obi-Wan Season 2. We're going to talk about that later. But in that video, I said that Season 2 shouldn't be a Season 2. It should be made by completely new people, new writers, new showrunners, not the disastrous ones that almost ruined Obi-Wan. And that's why Season 1 was reviewed so poorly, especially by the fans. It was received really, really badly. So here's the thing. I got this. During the fan expo, Ewan McGregor also said this. Ewan McGregor says he plans on watching every episode of the Clone Wars. He says, I'm going to watch all of the Clone Wars. That's my homework. And he said this, as I said, in Fan Expo, Canada, just a couple of days ago. What does this mean? What is he saying? What is he signaling to the fans? That's my homework, to watch all of the Clone Wars? Of course, my friends, this is what he means. He means that he is coming back as Obi-Wan, but in a live-action Clone Wars series.
Do it.
So this is what the fans have been clamoring for a lot of the time, is that ever since we saw in Ahsoka Season 1, we saw that Hayden Christensen was back in a Clone Wars outfit, in a Clone Wars armor, and then Obi-Wan could be back as well in his Clone Wars attire. So imagine Clone Wars version of Obi-Wan, Anakin, and young Ahsoka. There is no way, just absolutely no way they can mess this up, especially knowing what Andor did to the Star Wars verse. I mean, it has divided it so much that it showed clearly how Star Wars should be done. And this is perfect because it's a war situation. There's bad guys, good guys, middle ground guys. You have bounty hunters in there too. You have factions, and you have, of course, the main thing, which is politics. Andor was all about the politics, and here we go again with the live-action Clone Wars series. How much political can it get? I mean, the Confederacy against the Republic, it's Count Dooku against the Jedi Order. You can have Yoda and Palpatine of perhaps maybe a recast. We can talk about that too. They could recast them or do just a one scene off with, let's say, Chancellor Palpatine and actually digitalize his face as they did with young Luke Skywalker. All of a sudden, me wishing that Daniel Logan could come back as young Boba is not that crazy, as you can see, because during the Clone Wars, this would be perfect, a perfect casting as Daniel Logan, just learning himself, getting himself to the position where he is a Boba Fett that could start being himself. You have a kid Boba in the early version of the Clone Wars series, and then as the Clone Wars went on, years passed, you can now have a kind of a teenager Boba Fett. Daniel Logan could fill that place, no problem. Ewan McGregor saying that I'm going to watch the Clone Wars, and because it's my homework now, he is definitely saying something. And he also said that he's begging Disney for Season 2 of Obi-Wan. You can have Daniel Logan both in the live-action Clone Wars series and in the new Obi-Wan series. Obi-Wan knew both Jango and Boba from Attack of the Clones, so you have source material there. You can extract that, explore that storyline. I got a glimpse of him, a footage of him talking about this, about Disney. Ewan McGregor said this.
I went to Disney, I said, look, I just want you to, it's just getting embarrassing because every time it must sound like I'm sort of toting for work, you know. Can I? Yes, please. Disney. Now I am to do Season 2, but anyway.
My God. Well, if Ewan McGregor is begging Disney, then I don't know what Disney is waiting for. But there's something that Ewan said, and he said that, I know you think I know something, but I really don't. And this is kind of baffling to me. He says that he's been begging Disney to do a Season 2. But according to Daniel Rickman, who is a pronoun leaker, I mean, he has, revealed stuff like, for Marvel, like the return of Taskmaster in Thunderbolts. He even predicted Professor X's cameo in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So he's been here for a while, and he says that a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi is now fully in development at Disney Plus and at Lucasfilm. However, there is no firm timeline as of now. I can kind of believe that because, well, Star Wars Celebration 2025 came and went. No Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 announcement, anything like that. But hold on to your hats, folks, because D23 is really, really near. And we might get some announcement there. Maybe not a trailer, nothing like that, but nothing concrete, but maybe an announcement or a teaser that something is coming with Ewan McGregor, and that, of course, will be an Obi-Wan Obi-Wan Season 2. Now, let's talk about an Obi-Wan Season 2. An interesting fact that I have considered is that we don't really need to call it Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 because it wasn't received that well. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show was, spectacularly bungled and mishandled. The script was really bad. The kid Leia was bad. The fight was bad with Obi-Wan, Vader. I mean, they had one task, Obi-Wan versus Vader rematch. They fought twice and it was really bad. It's baffling the choices that they went with in the Obi-Wan series, but I'm not going to bore you with all that. What I'm trying to say is that if Lucasfilm really wants to give it a shot again with Ewan McGregor and give it a shot with another season with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think that we don't need to call it Season 2. I think that we can have a different Obi-Wan Kenobi series, detaching itself from anybody who worked on Season 1, detaching themselves from that story. It's just a one-off story this time. They don't need to really get with Darth Vader, anything like that. We even saw Palpatine at the end of that series telling Vader that he should have his focus on the Empire more so than Obi-Wan, his former master. That thing is done. So essentially, we know that from the show 10 years before BBY, we can see that in A New Hope they meet again. So I think that's about it with Obi-Wan and Vader. What I would really, really be interested in is seeing Daniel Logan come back as Boba Fett. This is the most intriguing part for me. Obi-Wan, knowing full well who Jango Fett is and who Boba Fett is, he fought against Jango in Attack of the Clones. He knows Boba Fett personally. What a great show it would be if now, instead of Obi-Wan versus Vader, now it's Obi-Wan versus Boba Fett, or they work together. This softens the blow of, as we see Boba Fett slowly becoming an anti-hero instead of a villain. Maybe his encounter with Obi-Wan could be exactly that, what Boba Fett needed for when we see in the book of Boba Fett, he actually becomes kind of the savior of Tatooine, or becomes a good guy, essentially. So I'm thinking what Lucasfilm is planning is to detach itself from that old series and have an Obi-Wan Kenobi insert title here. So it's not going to be Season 2. It's going to be a new Obi-Wan show with, of course, Ewan McGregor at the helm. Now, who's going to be the director? Who's going to be the writer? This is very important for Star Wars fans. This is exactly the problem that we face with these shows. They get insiders, they get in-house, and right now Lucasfilm in-house is a total disaster outside of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Everybody else, this is ultimately why the Obi-Wan series failed, because they had disastrous writers and showrunners in place for the Obi-Wan series. They made horrendous choices. Even the Book of Boba Fett, to see a renowned director, Robert Rodriguez, handle the Book of Boba Fett so poorly and so badly. It seemed like he was completely out of touch and didn't belong in Star Wars. This is why Andor was so important. It showed you what you actually need. You need to have good writers. You need writers who understand the Star Wars universe, because you need the regular dude, the regular people, the people who are not crazy fans, but will just go watch a movie because it's funny. It's interesting. This is why Deadpool and Wolverine worked. It's because Deadpool is a hilarious character to the normies. You have fans and you have normies flocking together. Wolverine, a classic character. Since decades and decades, people know about it. Hugh Jackman coming back to play Wolverine again. So, two classic characters coming back in a hilarious kind of action comedy, and it just serves the normies more so than the fans. You have something for the fans and something for the normies. This is how you get the big bucks. And by what I've read, what Dave Filoni has said about The Mandalorian and Grogu, I think he is going back to that. He's going back to the classics, where it isn't just about lore and just ultimate fans coming to watch the movie, knowing everything, how it connects to the universe, but it's just going to be also about regular folk that come into the cinema, enjoy the movie, go out and say, okay, that was fun, that was a good movie. Word of mouth will spread, more people will flock to it, come watch it, and that's how it goes. If you watch the Fantastic Four, it's a good movie, but most of these movies now have become bland. The problem with it is, first of all, the retro look has become boring. So in the Fantastic Four, for me, the retro look was good and thought of, but it is already played out to such a humongous level that it's become boring. Then you have Galactus, then you have the Silver Surfer, then you have Franklin Richards, Sue's kid. So there's so much, they're throwing so much at you, and the post-credit scene is literally Doctor Doom getting his face healed by Franklin Richards. So there's so much into it that normies are just gonna go, huh, what? So they're not gonna get it. This is, I feel, how they lost their track and lost their path.